Welcome to the hottest real estate topics on the planet, keeping you up to date with all the creative ways to buy and sell real estate without bank qualifying, so anyone can build real income starting today. Here is another great show with Dealmaker Bill and Pete the Rookie.
All right, here we are at another episode of Flipping Houses for Rookies. You excited, Peter?
Man, we're going to flip houses like pancakes, Bill. We're going to flip them.
We had to hardwire Peter in this morning. Peter's hardwired this morning. Watch out, folks. It's going to be one of those podcasts. Still not,
oh boy,
still not working.
I'll be talking all of a sudden.
Yeah, you're still freezing. Yeah, it's because we're live streaming on Facebook right now, Peter. We're live streaming on YouTube, and we're live streaming on Twitter now. Woohoo! We're fancy pants over here. And I'd like to take credit for all this. I would love to take credit for all this technology, Peter, so I could look like the smart guy in the room, but I can't.
But you can't.
I can't. Her name is Emma, my youngest daughter.
Wait a minute. Yeah, but you can take credit for the connections you have and the people that you have and how they support you, like making a smart team. That's what you get.
I'm going to show you what kind of a dumbass I could be, all right? I did not know this.
Okay.
I did not know this. My wife told me this the other day.
What?
She told me that my 3 kids are 3 years apart. I didn't know that. Jesse's 29.
Well, there's 3. Wait a minute.
Jesse's 29. Emma's 26. And Brendan is 23. I didn't know that.
Well, Bill, it makes sense. If you have 3 kids, they would be 3 years apart. Come on, think about it.
I didn't. It was, the deal structuring wasn't done by me. There was another dealologist in the room when that happened. All right, episode number 218. 218. Oh man, we're getting old, Peter.
Don't say that. That's what I was thinking. Ouch.
A controversial but very legal way to use land contracts the way realtors don't want you to know.
Oops.
If you think you need a lot of money and good credit, or that you have to be a genius to make money, forget it. It just ain't so. How do you like that? Ain't. I had to put that in there. It just ain't so. In this podcast, you will learn yet another way to convert houses into fast cash. No matter where in North America you live, regardless if you are flat broke or if you have an advantage because you have no other resources. Or choice but to learn before you leap. Think of this. Most who have money tend to leap before they learn because they have a cushion and the dough to bail them out. Then blame failures on all the wrong targets like the economy. So today, Peter, we're going to give you another tool we don't talk about much, the land contract. Much like my other strategies, this one lesson could take you from the pits to the Ritz.
How do you come up with this stuff? You wake up in the morning with this?
With a cup. I'll tell you a story. I don't want to do it now, but I'll tell you a story where I got that. From the Ritz to the pits. I got it when I was a kid. From the Ritz to the pits with a couple of deals. But you will need to understand some of the details before jumping into and swallowing water because you're in over your head. So, wait no more. Let's dig in and talk about the unusual document most don't know about. I can't believe we...
Hey, you've talked about it. I've heard you talk about it briefly a couple of times, but never like in depth. And I've never been through one, so I don't know. I just know theoretically about it. So I'm actually interested in hearing the whole story.
I can't believe we made it all the way to podcast 218 and never talked about this. I have no idea why I haven't done this. It's like, duh.
No.
You know what I mean?
Well, I don't think I've seen you use one since I've known you, have
Oh,
I?
God, yeah, I've used them.
I mean, lately, since I've been around?
Yeah, I'd have to go in my file and look, but I think so.
Yeah.
Well,
I didn't notice, and I didn't see the details, so I'm rookie at that
after
one.
today's podcast, you're going to know why I use them and why I don't. Okay?
Okay. When and where and how not and when not
There
and
you
where
go.
not.
So first, we need to do some house cleaning or housework type stuff. Please make sure you subscribe to wherever you're listening to us right now, so that you can, whether you're watching us or hearing us, just subscribe so that you know when we're live again and you can catch us live. Plus, please leave us a review, and remember, we are live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter now. So make sure you go find us in one of those places, whatever the best place is for you to find us. Lastly, we're live streaming on all three of these platforms. So if you have a question, just put them in the comment section, and I'll answer them as we go along. I have a big screen in front of me. Emma knows her dumbass dad, and she hooked it up, so it's practically what happens is when you send a comment, a little arm comes out of my computer and hits me in the forehead and says, "Hey Bill, there's a comment over here. You better check it out."
It goes
Yeah,
whack,
pretty
right?
much. Emma
Whack.
knows. How many meetings have I sat in and she'll be like, "Are you with me, Dad?" Because I'll drift off somewhere and be thinking about something. Dad, she'll sit there and just wait for me to do whatever, and she's like, "Are we ready to talk now, Dad?" This is good old Emma.
Well, she's learned the first step of communication. Yeah. Wait till you have the other person's attention.
Exactly.
Watch their eyes, watch their attention.
And it's not like I'm a ditz about it. It's just you got to realize that when I'm with her and I'm in meetings and stuff, it's it's like masterminding, so I'm in deep of whatever we're doing and thinking about flows and all that kind of stuff. So I don't do that in a regular conversation, but I definitely do it when we're masterminding, you know what I mean? All right, so just make sure that
calculations in your head.
Yeah, exactly. So make sure you go to flippinghousesforrookies.com. If you do, you can scroll down. The podcast is in the middle of the page. Right underneath the podcast is a link to go put a review in if you so wish. Also, I'd like to really brag about this, Peter. I'd like to really brag about this. Well, first of all, I want to brag about the podcast because we made 218 podcasts with no support. I've completely paid for it. You've been with me all the way, so thank you. I mean, other than a few vacations here and there, you've been on every single one. So we've done this together. So I want to say thank you to you for being there for 218 episodes, as well as we have no advertisers, we have no guest speakers, and we talk about the same shit all the time. We just rehash it,
Yeah.
I guess kudos to me because every week I come up with these ideas and write these podcasts, which whatever, blah blah blah. Right? I already get enough of that. But the point is that if you want to really learn real estate, this is a place to be, man. We give a lot of information, especially since we've changed the format at episode 200. I'm at this point. I'm like, screw the world. I'm paying for this. I'm doing what I want to do. So we get on here, and ironically enough, some of it, somebody said to me the other day that this is not for rookies anymore. This is the podcast. The podcast has stepped up past the rookie part, which is probably true. To some degree, but some of the stuff we've been covering since episode 200, I make my coaching clients go back and listen to it. I'll use it on my emails. It's meant to really motivate you and help you and clear up some confusions, because if you can't get past those confusions, you're never going to be able to digest anything past that. If you have a confusion, you stop digesting information. I have a new saying. We're going to talk about this. I actually put it in my email yesterday. I have a new saying, Peter.
Is it like a confusion is like an intestinal blockage?
I like that. No, I'm going to start talking about, I think that went into your mental junk, Peter.
Oh.
I think what I just said, that went into the mental junk in your mind. That's my new saying. Anyways.
I'm sorry, you froze a little bit. What'd you say?
I said, I think that went into your mental junk in your mind, Peter. You got mental junk in your mind. I got mental junk in my mind. We all got mental junk. So, Boy, your internet just got bad again. Oh my goodness. I'm going to keep going. We're not going to worry about it. Land contracts. What are they? Oh, we just lost Peter. Let me clear this up first. This one multiple page document has several names depending on what area you're from. So these names are A, land contract, B, contract for deed, C, bond for deed, D, installment sale agreement, and E, terms contract. So Peter's back now. So right now, Peter, what I'm doing is I'm clearing up. This contract has more than one name depending on which part of the country it is, and I'm going to repeat them again. Okay. So these are all synonymous, which means they all mean the same thing. They just have different names, no variations. So you have a land contract, you have a contract for deed, you have a bond for deed, installment sale agreement, and a terms contract. So all those are the same. So for today's show's sake, because in the name of the show, I'm gonna stick with land contract. But like in my area in this liberal state of Connecticut, where the governor is actually trying to turn us into a communist state, that dirty rotten bastard, and all his goons that go with him, we call it a bond for deed. Okay, but like I have friends that I have coaching clients that are in Texas, they call it a contract for deed there. Okay, I have coaching clients that are out west, and they call it agreement for deed. Okay, or I don't even have that one written down here. Okay, so just realize it's all the same document. I'm not going to delve into the document today and show you how to cross the T's and dot the I's and all that stuff, because that would be boring. Though many of the paralysis of analysis guys would love that. Oh my God, they would love to just hear all about the little details and the grungy little legal shit that they don't even need to know about until they get a deal. So for those that are listening now, get off your ass, get out there and talk to somebody and see if you can make a deal to even know if this contract will work. Okay? Get in my emails, because the last couple weeks I've been on a binge on how you can get out there and find deals. Pete, we did, I don't even know what episode, about 3 or 4 episodes, we did an episode about how to find leads on Facebook. I did that in my monthly master. We have a new coaching group now, right? Because I got tired of people telling me, Bill, I can't get into your coaching group until I get a deal. So I'm like, screw you guys. I set up a whole coaching program for $97 a month just for those guys or girls.
Yeah, Bill, it's like chicken and egg.
Totally. Like,
they want a deal, but you need the data to get the deal, but you don't get the deal to get the deal. You're going in circles, and then
they
you go
want
home.
the deal to get into the coaching, but need the coaching to get into the deal. It's like, hello, but whatever. I'm not here to do that. I'm just telling you that in the coaching group, there was for $97 a month, we do a once a month call, and there's a whole bunch of support. I give away, for Christ's sakes, I give away $1,400 worth of courses that are on the internet now. You go on the internet on my website, flippinghousesforrookies.com, and click on the courses page. They're all there. We're selling them. I sell them every week. But now there's $1,400 worth of them. I think there's like 8 of them that are included in this $97 a month program. You get them for free. It's a bonus. If you sign up for $97, you get $1,400 worth of stuff, right? My point is not to pitch this on the podcast. My point is that I've been saying in my emails that if you just go onto Facebook, and last month I did this. We did this a couple weeks ago. September 2020 was my first month doing it. I've already got coaching clients from that group that have deals. I have a girl that signed paperwork today. Now, this is like a week later or a week and a half later, maybe 2 weeks. I'm not even sure, but no more than 2 weeks.
No, it was last week, wasn't it? September 2? Wednesday? September
I believe
2.
so, yeah. So she's already,
it's a week
she's
and a day.
already got a deal.
I'm looking at my
She's already
calendar.
got a deal.
Week and a day.
She was blowing up the WhatsApp because she's like, I can't believe it. They said yes. All she did was text them, message them a couple of sentences, and they said yes. So anyways, I'll get off that rant because it's like, that's where I've been lately. Like, get off your ass, get out there. Don't try to buy a house. Just get out there and talk to people, and the house will come. Okay? So, back to land contracts. I get so passionate about this, I get off track. I'm sorry about that. So,
No, that's fine. Hey, this is important. When I started working with you years ago, when you start something like this, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if it's going to work. Blah, 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 blah. Will it really work? All you need to do is get a few people calling you back and talking to you, and you realize it's for real. So this one step, instead of buying thousands of dollars of coaching, the $97, and all the information you're giving is how to find the leads. All that is just lead finding. If you get leads, you're fine. You just move ahead at that point. That's the whole point. That's what I did. You got me on the phone. I did ask a couple questions. In 10 days, I was back on the phone. Bill, I got an appointment. I was freaking out. And you're like, you did? The whole point of this business is get the thing started. You don't have to spend $20,000, but just get started, and the rest unfolds in front of you.
Talk to new sellers every day, and you'll get a deal. That's the trick. All right. So land contract is a written legal contract. Okay, so we know what it is. Let's start off with that. A land contract is a written legal contract or agreement used to purchase real estate, such as vacant land, single-family houses, multifamily houses, large apartment buildings, commercial buildings, mobile homes, mobile home parks, any other real property. Okay, so whatever type of real estate. I'm going to tell you right now, I have a couple of apartments. I think I've got 3 apartment, two families and 1 3-family that are not on a land contract but goddamn close. Okay, they're on rent-to-owns, and I use the land contract language, which I'll go over in a few minutes, and put them in there. Okay, and I'm going to tell you the difference between all of them before we get done, because my intention today is not to like I said, get into the legal talk, but at least know what it's for and separate it from the other deals and why you would use it. Okay, because there's specific reasons why you would use it. So watch this now. This is not well crafted words. This is right from my mind. This is hardwired right from Bill's planet. Okay. This is raw. And I got to tell you that I had a $15 cigar when I had this idea. I was smoking a $15 cigar. I'm babysitting for Jesse's dog, so I got Ringo back here, my little buddy that I had him for 8 or 10 years, and him and I were buddies. And he's been in the car with me. He goes out and talks to the contractors with me. Oh, yeah, he goes everywhere with me, right? So here I am, cigar in position, right? Ringo hanging out by my feet on his blanket, and this idea pops in my head. Bam! Just like an atomic bomb. A land contract is like a subject to, a lease option, and an owner finance deal all together. And I'm going to explain this in a few minutes, but that's what it is. That in my head, that's what it is. It's like a subject to deal, a lease option deal, and an owner finance deal. There's like traits of each one of those in the deal, and I use the land contract to put it all together. Okay, which is a little bit confusing right now, but it won't be in a couple minutes. And that's why I wanted to do this podcast, because this unbelievable, magnificent, over the edge, top of the world contract blows away the realtors because they can't do this. They don't know this exists. The farthest they'll go is a lease with an option agreement. They have no idea that these tools are even available to them, and that you, me, or any one of our listeners could take deals away from them with this contract because it's so freaking tight. And it's such a good contract. Okay? And by the way, it's 2 or 3 pages long. It's not very long.
Really?
It is similar to a mortgage, but rather than borrowing money from the lender or a bank, Peter, if I got to borrow money from the bank, here's what I want you to do. I want you to promise me now publicly that you'll come down to my office and you'll strap me into my chair rope me up, handcuff me, and put an AK-7 in my forehead and threaten to blow my mind out. Okay, if I got to use a bank. Okay, I want you to do that. Okay?
Okay, write up the contract. We'll make a land contract out of it.
I don't want to use bank. They are the nastiest people on this planet. And if you're a banker right now listening to me, you don't agree with me, send me a support ticket. I would love to debate you on my support ticket. As a matter of fact, I might even get on the damn phone with you and talk to you face to face just so we can talk about all the crap that you're not supposed to be doing. Okay? That's how I want to do it. So, I guess I'm wound up today, huh? It's similar to a mortgage, but rather than borrowing money from a lender or the bank to buy the real estate, the buyer makes payments to the real estate owner or the seller until the price and clearly defined agreements are met. Then the deed is passed. So do you know how when we used to talk about doing a slot deal, we would say to the seller, I can give you a deferred payment? Remember we used to say that all the time, right?
Yeah, deferred cash out or delayed
cash out. Right. That's exactly what it was, a delayed cash out. Thank you. So
deferred payment, but like the balance, all the money
so
comes
we would say, I can give you $200,000, but I got to give you a delayed cash out. Or I got to give you a delayed payment. All right. What that meant is they weren't getting the $200,000 now. They were getting it in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. We would give it to them, but it was delayed. Okay. This is the same concept. It's like you're going to get the deed, but it's a delayed reaction. Okay. So the seller keeps the deed until these obligations are met. And you make the obligations. You make the agreement before you enter into the deal, right? Then once these are all satisfied, whatever you agree upon, which most often one of them is that you pay them off, okay? You pay them the balance owed, right? Then the seller passes the deed to the buyer. So it's like a delayed passing, if you would. It sounds morbid, doesn't it?
Well, it sounds like a delayed purchase.
It's exactly right.
It's a delayed purchase. In the meantime, you're doing something, which you'll explain in a minute. I get the part you got to pay them. Keep talking because I want to find out what other agreements might be in there. Like, what else would you have to do? So keep going. I want to see what
a buyer and a seller must both sign this agreement, saying they agree and know the terms. Now, terms in this case is not the time. It's the agreements that you make, like what day of the month you pay, how much interest, if any interest at all, what's the dollar amount that you're going to pay at the end. What's really cool about this document is it talks about default. So if I default, what do I do? It talks about indemnification. It talks about insurance. It's a little bit deeper than just a regular option agreement, okay? Which we're going to go over in a minute. I'm getting ahead of myself. A buyer and seller must both sign the agreement saying they agree and know the terms and conditions of the sale before they enter into the agreement. And like I said, upon satisfaction of all the terms and conditions, the property transfers into the buyer's name once the seller feels satisfied. Okay?
It's like a really long purchase and sales agreement.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's like I said, it's all of that wrapped up in, it's a purchase and sales agreement, it's an option agreement, it's owner finance, it's all wrapped into one document, right? So just because I got some skeptical people listening to me right now, you imagine that, Peter? You imagine that?
Well, it's not, Bill. It's not your fault. They were skeptical before they tuned in. It's not your fault.
I obviously have this skeptical stuff on my mind because I wrote an email yesterday that if you read it, it's like you're going to wake up. If you don't wake up from that email, then you're in a coma that I don't think you're ever going to get out of.
Not even Prince Charming can wake you up with a kiss?
No. I've
Maybe a frog.
kissed enough frogs. I want to be the prince, so I wrote that email yesterday, okay? Maybe that'll be today's email, kissing frogs. So for those people that think with their junk minds, okay, Here's to you, buddy. I'm talking to you. Benefits to the seller. Why would a seller want to do this? The seller does not receive the full purchase price up front. So why would they want to do that? Like the seller would if he did a regular cash deal or we paid him in full with a mortgage, right? So think of this. For hundreds and hundreds and probably thousands and thousands of years, we didn't have these realtors and the mafia. You know, the banker, you know, the realtor, the attorneys. We didn't have all this stuff, right? We would just buy and sell property amongst one another. So if I wanted to buy the farm next door, I'd go over like you say, and I'd make a deal with them, and I'd pay them, 3 chickens and 5 eggs and 14 cows a month or whatever, right?
Yep.
That's how it kind of was, and we had an agreement, and we would do that. Well, this is the agreement that they use, this land contract. Why do you think it's called a land contract?
Was it originally for land? Huh.
That's why it's called a land contract.
Okay.
Okay, so back then there weren't edifices or houses or buildings on these lands. You just went and bought, Amazing story I just read. Amazing story. You know me, I got to do all kinds of weird shit, right? So I'm in Cape Coral, where I was in Florida with my sister, I want to shout out to my sister. She took amazing care of me. My sister is an awesome girl. She loves me to death unconditionally, and she's just an amazing chick. And it's not like I need a lot of attention anyways, but her and I just had a blast. So one of the things I have to do when I'm in Fort Myers, I've been to the Edison Ford Museum about 15 times. And I just love to go there. So I went down there one Saturday morning. And in that store I find a book. The History of Cape Coral. And it's a picture book, so it's easy for me to read because I like pictures. Right?
Yeah, come on, you can read that.
I like pictures. Oh my God, Peter, this story is amazing. Cape Coral was, and I'm bringing this up for a valid point, I'm just not ranting here. Cape Coral was 25,000 acres of land. It was vacant land. You ready for this? In 1957.
Whoa, wait a minute.
In 1957, it was raw acreage, 25,000 acres, owned by one person that ran cattle on it.
Wait a minute, 1857.
1957.
1950. I guess I'm confused because Edison and Ford were there before that.
They were in Fort Myers. I'm talking about Cape Coral.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Fort Myers has 94,000 people in it. Cape Coral has 200,000 people in it. So get what I'm telling you. 1957, there were no people, there were cows. It was owned by a rancher, 25,000 acres owned by a rancher. These two dudes that were from, I think, New York, I'm not 100% sure of that because it never really says where they're from, were selling shampoo hair products. Now, in 1950s, okay, I'm so off topic right now. 1950s was when TV started to get popular. Now, you might remember that, Peter. I'm a little bit too old for that, but you might remember that. Well, you were like, you were a teenager then, right?
Hey, cut it out.
Right?
No, but seriously, when I was a kid, I didn't have a TV till I was like 5 or 6 years old. My father got one. We got a TV. It was a big deal. Black and white, a little cheap thing, three channels. And it was like amazing, but it sucked by today's standards.
So to my point, these guys went on TV, and where they had this little shop, mom and pop shop, they went on TV, started selling these hair products on TV. They were like one of the first infomercials. And they went national. So one of them got this idea that they wanted to go buy land in Florida. So they went to this cattle rancher, and I forgot how much, it was 1,975 acres for like, I don't know, 600,000 or some number like that, or 300,000. It wasn't a lot of money. I mean, it sounds like a lot of money, but it wasn't. They decide that they want to build these canals, so they hire a bunch of guys to go 24 hours a day, and they get three dredgers, and they start making canals. Now,
right, because it was too wet. The land was too wet, right? Too swampy.
No, it was a marketing play. They wanted to sell their property that said waterfront property. So they made their land on waterfront. So all the houses, currently there's 458 miles of canals in Cape Coral. So It is very common to go there and buy a house for $200,000 and be waterfront. Now, I'm going to get off the story for a minute. My point is that I was doing this research because it was just time passing for me, right? They had like from 1957 to 1988, they had only sold like 500 houses. 1988 is when they started bringing in, all the grocery stores and electricity and, the houses before that had electricity, but they made a deal with the electric company and it started to move. 1988 is when that community really started to take off. 1988, Peter. And I'm telling you right now, in 2020, that property or that 25,000 acres now has 200,000 people living on it. And it's one of the sought after communities in Florida because there's 458 miles of canal. So who does?
And it's all new. It's all new too since 1980, 90s.
Right.
When I was a teenager.
Right. And it all developed. I'm telling you this because think when you were a teenager. Think of it. You thought that went by, huh? So think of it this way. I'm talking about buying land on land contracts. So there's what I'm talking about. Now, I don't know how they purchased, but I wouldn't be surprised if they used a land contract to start that deal that turned into 200,000 people living there. I don't know how many houses are there. I drove a lot of neighborhoods while I was down there, right? Mark my word. Mark my word. Mark my word. If you're into real estate, and I'm going to announce this, which is going to shoot myself in the foot, right? John says on good point, John. John says on Facebook. Let me put it on there. He said, these guys were building these houses before AC was popular. Very good point. Very good point.
And that was tough. That's hot
Right.
down there.
So the next wave, I'm going to make a prediction here. The next wave is Punta Gorda, North Charlotte, and then right above that is North something else. I want to say North Dakota, but obviously that's not right. It's North something. There's another community up there, and those are the next wave. So just like those pioneers in 1950s and 60s went there, those are the next areas, which is why I'm like digging hard in those communities because I want to get in there, get my rental homes and all that stuff. So anyways, when people that come here to hear my stories, let's get back to the topic here. I'm like so far off right now that we've train wrecked, Peter. Now we got to clean up the shrapnel. We got to clean up the mess.
Well, I think your point was the land contract originally was to purchase land, and that's making sense to me because what I'm thinking is if you buy land, there's nothing on it. It's not generating any income, so you can't. It's hard to pay somebody where there's nothing there to pay to make income. So look, I got land. I'll tell you what. Let me do this and that, and once I get things going, then I'll be able to pay you because there's nothing to pay them with. You got to put the houses, sell the properties, and then you have money.
More
to
to the
them.
point, how do you put all the legalese on there and about building the houses and the roads? Like, how do you do all that? And this contract will encompass that if you want. Okay, so going back to seller benefits, the seller does not receive the full purchase price up front, like the seller would if the buyer used a mortgage or paid cash in full. But by doing it this way, the seller will have way more choices for potential buyers. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Also because he's going to take monthly payments instead of paying up front. Right?
Right.
Also, the seller can get a higher price. Right? We talk about my computer. If I were to sell my computer today for $1,000, you gave me $1,000 worth of cash, you paid $1,000. You swipe your credit card and make payments over 24 months, you didn't pay $1,000 anymore. Right? It's just the way America is. I didn't make it that way. The seller could get a higher deposit than a lease option, and I'm going to cover this in a few minutes. Okay? So lease options, we normally get 3 to 5%. With a land contract, you can get more. Okay?
Oh.
Plus the deed is in the seller's name, so he or she could still get all the tax benefits and depreciation values as well as principal reduction. Okay? And by the seller not talking, by the seller not taking all cash, you can spread the capital gains out over a length of time, the contract period, right? Now, having several years to get the write-offs. So if I were to have capital gains of, we'll say, $50,000, right? And I took it in one lump sum, I got to pay the 38% capital gains tax, which is commonly what it is, right? Or 36% capital gains tax, right? All this year. So so let me do that math. So 50,000.
$19,000.
You think you got that, huh?
Try it.
Nice job, Peter. How'd you do that?
50,000 is 50% of 100. So I just cut the 38 in half. It's advanced Italian math, Bill.
It worked. Nice job. I'm impressed. Okay.
Good.
So
I'll be quiet the rest of the day now. Cool in my head.
So does this mean I got to make you the deal maker apprentice?
I'm moving up from rookie.
Good.
Yes.
So, anyways,
flipping houses for apprentices.
Yeah, exactly. So 50,000, they're not getting 50,000. They're getting 19,000 less, right? Because it goes to the capital gains. But if they do this contract and they get $50,000 profit or capital gains, now if they take it, we'll say for 10 years, just for easy math, they get $5,000 a year, right? But they have every year.
Is it still 38%?
Hang on. So every year now what happens is they have write-offs every year that they can put against that 38%.
Right.
Where if you did it all in one year, you only have so many write-offs to be able to knock that down. But now if you go year after year, you have 10 times the amount of write-offs because you went 10 years. So you just keep more money. And I got to tell you that if you get savvy money people and you explain this to them correctly, they'll be all over it. Okay? So also the benefits are that they are collecting rents or getting income without being a landlord. They have no landlord obligations at all. This is in the commercial world, Peter, if you want to talk commercial real estate, this is what they call a triple net deal, meaning that you pay your lease or your rental money or your monthly payment. Let's put it that way. You pay your monthly payment, plus you pay the taxes, plus you pay the insurance. That's what they mean by triple net. That means you're paying all three of the, plus you're paying utilities and all that stuff, but normally renters pay that. But in this particular case, triple net means you're paying a monthly payment, the insurance, and the taxes. Okay, so that means...
Yeah, I've heard of that. I've heard of that for years, and I finally read that recently. Like, what's triple about it? And those three things that are getting paid. So it finally made more sense, like the name. And
well, triple net means that because the seller doesn't have to pay for it, it adds net to his pocket. So it's net times 3 because he doesn't have to pay the taxes, doesn't have to pay the insurance, and he doesn't have to make a payment, or he collects a payment.
Right. So,
So.
Yep.
All right. So let's switch over benefits to the buyer. All right. So the benefits to the buyer is first, no loan. Right. It's not a hard closing. Big bang boom and it's done. Yeah. Okay. Yep. And he or she, unlike a lease, gets principal payments. Principal reduction. So that's, well, let me keep going because I'll get ahead of myself. So they get principal reduction on their payments because payments are amortized.
And that's always, it's not a special maybe, that's just part of how that works.
It's part of, that's why you use this contract, which I'm going to get to in a minute.
Nice.
Okay, so amortization, so for those of you that don't know, if I owe Peter $100,000 and I have to pay 4% interest, when I make a payment, my first payment, I'm going to pay him some interest, some principal. Let's say my payment's $1,000 just for ha-has, and the first month my payment is $50 in principal and $950 in interest, because that's how the loans work, right? Next month, because I paid him $50 worth of interest, there's going to be a new number for the interest, because now because I owed him $100,000, Now I paid $50 of that 100,000, so the principal is a lesser amount, which changes the interest. And every month you make principal payments, the principal goes down and the interest changes. So an amortization schedule lists all of the payments. So if we have a 10-year contract, we have 120 payments. And the amortization lists each payment, how much is interest and how much is payment, how much is principal. And that's what an amortization formula is. Okay, it does that math for you. And we call it an amortization schedule. So you, in the beginning of the deal, software does this. You know, back in the day they had to do this by hand, but nowadays software does it. You go print an amortization schedule, you put it in the deal. I have several of them in my filing cabinet, and any given time I want to know what my payoff is, I just go to whatever payment I'm on and I see what my principal amount is. Okay, it's an awesome tool.
Right.
Okay, so
Yeah, and you can get a download an app, mortgage app, put numbers in, hit the button, and it'll show you whatever you put in, and you can see how the numbers change month to month. And by the way, amortize, the word comes from mort, which is dead, die. So it really means that you're killing off your loan. This is how you're getting rid of it.
Yeah.
So you're killing it until it's dead. It's gone.
Wow.
That's my
I
explanation.
need some ammunition because I got a lot of debt to kill. All right.
Okay.
So the buyer gets full use of the property just like a bank mortgage without applying. Okay? The buyer gets the deed and full ownership, including taxes and other benefits, when he or she meets the obligations that was agreed upon. Okay? This also gives the seller time to fix any problems and get a favorable mortgage when he or she is ready.
The buyer?
Right, we're talking about buyer benefits.
Yeah, you said seller, so the buyer.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry about that. Yeah, so this also gives the buyer, I'm sorry about that, it gives the buyer time to fix problems and get a favorable mortgage. Yeah, that's weird. Let me fix that. Thanks. All right, so let me be clear about this. So let me clear up some major confusions for most folks. When you do a lease option, you do subject to or a land contract, okay? You're probably confused, and I know because I've had coaching clients. I just did this recently with a coaching client. They're confused on the hierarchy. Or what's the hierarchy. So you want to define that for me, Peter? What is a hierarchy?
Well, I think in this case you're talking about like a level of what's at the top in sequence, like what's the best deal you could get. Maybe if that doesn't work, what's the next best deal you could get, and that kind of idea. If that doesn't work, what's the next best deal you could offer the person that would benefit you and still him?
Right, so we're ranking it. But what we're doing is we're ranking
Right.
your position as the owner. Like, how much control do you have? So the hierarchy, this hierarchy I'm going to go over is like how much, what's the most amount of control and what's the least amount of control and why you would use them.
Got
Okay,
it.
and this is important to understand a land contract. Okay, so number one, the most amount of power, the most amount of control, and the most amount of ownership you can have for a piece of real estate, or control, I should say, because you can own it in an entity too. But is getting the deed.
Right.
Okay. And when I mean getting the deed, you can get it into your name. Often we don't do it because there's only four types of entities that can own real estate. That's your personal name, that's a LLC or a S corporation or some sort of an entity. The third one is a partnership, which is also an entity, and the fourth one is a trust. So regardless of which one, you're controlling that entity. So when I say in your name, I mean in the entity's name, right? So the deed is the deed is the most, getting the deed is the most powerful and most successful way to own a piece of property. It also is the best way to protect any money if you have to put money into a deal. Okay?
Right, because you won't actually own it. You have the title, you have the deed.
You'll actually own it, yeah. So when I say protect your money, protect your money, it means just that. You don't have a mortgage or anything on it. It just means that you're controlling the deed. You're controlling the property. So you're not going to release that deed to another buyer until you get satisfied. So if you got $10,000 into the property, you're not going to release the deed to your buyer until you get your 10 grand or some sort of satisfaction from 10 grand. Now, I want to be loud and clear here. I want to be loud and clear here, Peter. Like from the highest roof that I could yell this. Okay?
Yeah.
A good real estate investor is not putting money into properties. He's taking money out. Real estate is made to take money out, not put money in. The ones that put money in don't know shit about real estate. They're in the money business. You get the difference.
Say more about they're in the money business.
They don't give a crap about the real estate. The real estate is a vehicle for them to lend their money and make their dough. They're in the money business.
The investor guy.
So a lot of people will say, but Bill, mortgages, you got to go borrow money to buy the real estate because you need the money. Exactly. The bank is not in the real estate business. They're in the business of lending money and collecting their thieving fees.
Oh, very much so.
By the way, trying to control you. And they do that with scare tactics. Like if you don't make your mortgage payment on the 10th, they start calling your phone 9,000 times and just wear you down. Right?
Yeah.
So hear what I say. Real estate investors, especially creative investors, should have this mentality. We could do a whole show on this. Have this mentality that you don't put money in, you take money out. The sole purpose of real estate is to not put money in, it's to take money out. The only reason why anybody's listening to me right now, and the only reason why anybody wants to do real estate, anybody, is to get money out.
Bill, do you know what some people do?
I have no clue.
Yeah, I know. I have some acquaintances, I'll say. And one of them was telling me how he bought a piece of property to rent. I said, oh, really? What'd you do? Well, I bought a duplex. Great. How'd you do it? Well, I put 20% down or 10% down. I got a mortgage. So he put like 20 grand into a property to make like $400 a month. And he thought, in the long run, I suppose it'll work. But how many of those is he going to do? He'll wait 5 years and maybe do it again. And maybe someday he'll have some money. But that's an example of putting a ton of money in and getting a little bit out.
Mr. Banker.
We'll put 400 in. We'll put 400 in.
Stop talking, Peter. Stop talking, Peter. Mr. Banker, I want you to hear me right now. You are not the only place we can get money, so go to hell.
Bill, don't hold back. Tell us how you're
Go to hell, Mr. Banker. You're not the only place that has money. I said it there. Remember, good real estate, you take money out, you don't put money in. So the best deals need very little in the deal with high amounts coming out.
Yep.
Okay? So let's go back to the hierarchy because I got on a rant again. Boy, my wife's going to I'm a handful for my wife today. She's going to have to calm me down. So the most powerful is getting the deed in your name. The second most powerful, which is the second senior position, is the land contract. Okay? You fully control the property, but you get principal reduction payments. So it is just like a mortgage, except it has not all the mortgage crap attached to it.
Yeah, because it's not the bank, it's the owner doing this for you.
Okay? So
And you're paying the taxes, you're paying insurance, you're taking care of all that stuff.
the most important thing that you forgot, Peter, is
Yeah.
that we are negotiating our terms. Now, I go to Mr. Banker over here and I say to him, I want to buy this house. And what does he tell me?
He tells you, well, here's what you have
His
to do. Here's
terms.
how much you got to put
His
down.
terms. His terms. No negotiating. And at the end of the day, he said, like it or leave it. My way or the highway, Bill. Get it?
No.
Not with a land contract. With a land contract, I negotiate my terms with the seller. And we use this amazing document to clarify it. And oh yeah, by the way, the document's so easy. It's in English language, not legalese. That I don't need a lawyer. That I could just spend an hour at my computer, which I've done a lot, and just draft this document and run it by my seller. And within days, no fees, no closings, no crap. I do my title search and it's over. Now, here's the best part about this. If I got to go to the real estate mafia and I got to meet the Godfather and say, hey, I want to use your boys to close on this deal, right? Episode number 90, if you want to hear the episode about mafia, the real estate mafia, go episode 90. I could bring this document to the legal beagles and they're like sniffing around like Ringo, my little dog, sniffs around the mailbox when he's got to go out there and pee. I mean, there's some scent out there that this dog is attracted to because he runs all the way across the yard to get to that mailbox so he can sniff the dust. These lawyers are like that with this document. They go sniffing around. They're like, oh, this is pretty good. Yeah, I approve of this. I seldom get a legal beagle to tell me, no, don't use this document whenever I present it.
What? Say that again. What?
Say what again? I just was on a 10-minute rant.
No, that last part.
I seldom get a legal beagle to say no when I present them with this offer, with this document. And if I do, it's usually one little hairpin idea that they had some mental junk on from their past, right? And I'll change that paragraph and that's it.
So the lawyers
They
kind of
love
like
it.
Huh?
They love it.
Okay.
They love it. They love it, just like Ringo loves the little mailbox and going out there and smelling the scent. And then he puts his mark on it. Okay? So we start off with the hierarchy. The deed is the most important. The second most powerful document in ownership is the land contract that we're talking about. The next one down is a lease option or a lease to own position. Here, we still get the use of the property, but lose the principal reduction and any tax benefits we could have negotiated. So get the difference. So just to put the ease of our listeners' minds, I don't know what I'm doing today, Peter. I'm doing something wrong because I have no comments from the Peanut Gallery and Facebook or YouTube. Either I'm doing a really intense job or we're really entertaining them and they're mesmerized, or I'm way too deep into the rabbit hole and I'm over their head and they're not getting what I'm talking about. So something.
Bill, I don't think they don't want to interrupt your rant.
Is that what it is? Oh,
Yep.
geez. My wife interrupts my rant all the time. I don't know why they can't. So here's the thing. Get this. Hear me loud and clear. The land contract is very much like a lease option agreement, except it takes it up a notch and gives you principal reduction, and it gives you more mortgage contingencies, in other words, more mortgage rights than the lease option. So the lease option is a derivative or a lesser degree of a land contract. They work similarly. In other words, you get to use the property, you have rights, you have all this stuff, but the land contract is just another nail in the coffin to getting the deed.
Question: In the lease option, we use an option to to secure the property and have our option to buy it. There's no option needed for the land
Correct.
contract, or you wouldn't need?
It's like a mortgage. Okay,
Yeah.
so get this. Okay, Johnny, thank you very much. Johnny says we're deeply listening. New content. Thank you, Johnny. So, so get this, okay? This is a great question you ask. What is an option?
Well, an option gives us the
right to buy.
the right to purchase before anybody else, but not the responsibility to. We don't have
A
to.
land contract is more like I've purchased, now I'm just working out the money.
I purchased it later. I'm working out the money and any other terms and deals.
So the
whatever.
option agreement is an open-ended, like for 2 years, I might buy it, I might not, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
There was a rainstorm last week and I didn't like it, so I think I'll cancel. Or, maybe my kid got yelled at in kindergarten because he threw a toy at somebody and I don't like the school, so I'm going to move. Okay? Maybe you're like me and you don't like the governor and his entourage, and you just, instead of moving out of Connecticut, you just stay here and keep bitching about it. Okay? So you could do that too with a lease option. You could just stay there and just keep bitching about it, right? A lawyer, a lawyer will tell you that the land contract is tighter because it's got more, you're locked in.
Right.
Now, here's something that is extremely amazing. Okay? The default. It's Bill's default. You can assign this like any other contract.
Oh.
Okay? Now, when I sell, I make sure I put in there that they can't do this, which is one of the things that makes my contract different. Because you can go download these. You can go download these templates, but they're not going to be as tight as mine because of my experience. Okay, so one of the things I put in there is I don't allow them to assign it or sublease. When I'm buying, I make sure that stuff is in there. I'm allowed to assign it and sublease. So when I'm using one with a seller, it's got certain language in it, and when I'm using one with a buyer, it's got different language in it. Which is why my documents are the way they are, because I've manipulated them with legal counsel and deals and experience with sellers and buyers and all that kind of stuff, right?
No, that's smart. I mean, that's what you have to do in business. You're giving yourself more freedoms and possibilities on your end, but you're restricting the person you're passing it on to from pulling stunts or doing things that you don't want him to do. So you don't have to worry about him messing things up.
Thank you, Brian. Brian says we're doing a great job. So he's on YouTube. So basically, this document gives you the freedom to create whatever you want and make it legal, and get the legal beagles to agree to it. Okay. The last run. So if we're doing the hierarchy, we started with a deed, which is getting the deed. Which, by the way, Peter, nobody's brought this up in this room yet. But why do you think Bill says the most favorite deal he likes to do is getting the deed?
Because he has the deed?
Because I control the property and nobody's going to take it away from me and nobody's going to mess with me, right?
Yeah, and the money's already in place.
Exactly right. Okay? So the most power is getting the deed. The one on the next less rank is the land contract. The next one is a lease option. The last one on the rung is the slot deal, or the sandwich lease option transfer, right? So the difference between a lease option and a sandwich lease option is a lease option has 15% worth of equity and 20 or 25% worth of cash flow. A slot deal is an overpriced piece of property that we're just going to get under an option agreement. We're going to go find our end user, put them in the property, collect the fee for doing that. And you don't need to be a realtor to do that. So you're controlling the property, but you have the least amount of rights.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you relinquish it once you do the deal and you just go.
So hopefully that clears up the hierarchy of when to use what contract. I'm going to do it one more time. So the most powerful is a deed. Second most powerful is a land contract. The third most powerful is a lease option. And the fourth most powerful, or the least most powerful, is the slot deal. It's just an option agreement.
Bill, question? Owner financing, would that be number one as well, like getting the deed if you have an owner finance deal? Okay.
So any one of those deals, like when you do a rehab retail, you're getting the deed.
Yeah. So anyway you get the deed. So you didn't mean like subject to get the deed. Just get the deed. Anyway.
Well, that's the glory of subject to, is you get the deed and financing built in. Because
so the first
subject to means you're buying the property with subject to the underlying mortgage. So if they say that you got to pay 3,000% for interest, you got to pay it. If they say you got to pay, at midnight down at 18th Street with cash, you got to go down, midnight at 18th, and pay cash. It's subject to whatever agreements. Which, by the way, I'd like to bring something up here, Peter.
What?
Most people think that subject to is done with just banks, and they talk about the due on sale clause, which if you go listen to episode 169, we talk about subject to deals and how to do them. But more importantly, it's not just done with banks. I mean, I've not done a lot of it, but I bought subject to with other investors that have hard money lends. And you buy it subject to.
Oh.
So it's not just with banks, with private money. One time I had a whole conversation. I don't remember if I bought the house. I just remember the house, to be honest with you. I don't remember, to be honest with you. But I had a whole conversation with a father-daughter because the daughter wasn't paying, and he wanted to keep the money employed, and she wasn't paying, and he was stuck. What do? Throw your kid out? Right?
Yeah, I've seen those.
So I remember having this whole conversation. It just popped in my head about how I would pay, and he was. I don't remember if I bought the house, but it was subject to deal. I was going to take over the existing loan and keep paying, but I would pay. The daughter wasn't. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the father owned the property. He
put the money. He bought the property for her, but she wasn't paying him.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, if you want to buy subject to property, and you're a lazy bastard, okay. You could go buy a pre-foreclosure list. That's a great way to find subject to property. It's a great way. I mean, I personally don't like that kind of property. I think it's the hardest way to buy. Another great list is out-of-area owners. Those are great. Okay? So...
Yep.
So realize that number 4, the doing a slot deal, nothing sticks there. All your agreements get assigned from you to your seller, right? So the reason why we do slot deals is we make $3, $4, $5 on them. We don't make a lot of money with them, right? But we're in and out, right? I mean, if you're spending some money on marketing, which these days is not a lot of money, right, compared to what it used to be. If you're spending some money on marketing, and you could wholesale a lease option agreement, or wholesale subject to deal, wholesale an owner finance deal. Why would you wholesale these? Because you live 3,000 miles away or 2,000 miles away and you don't want the property. So if I'm digging down in Punta Gorda and I find a property down there that I got on a subject to, and I don't want to manage it, I could just wholesale it to a local investor and make $5,000. Not wholesale it, assign it. The word wholesale is what most people understand. You're really technically assigning it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which, by the way, I don't know if I said this before, but Bill's rule is don't worry about real estate. Go as far as you can in a transaction, and when you get stuck, or if you get worried or you get nervous, just as long as you have agreements, just assign it to somebody else. You don't have to close. So let me ask you this question, Peter. If you find a deal and you need to come up with $100,000 and you can't raise the $100,000, are you stuck? No. Assign it to somebody else that can raise $100,000 and make $2,000, $3,000, $5,000. Right? How many of the people listening to this podcast could make $2,000 in 4 or 5 hours worth of work? Not many. Right?
Not unless they do this.
You're looking at me like I got 5 stars. So I got 5 hits. All right. So let's move on. An amazing thing about all these deals I just spoke of is you don't need the real estate mafia, like what I was talking about. You don't need the realtors, the bankers, closing agents, the attorneys, or the title companies to close. Although you can use the closing agents or the attorneys. Most of my deals are kitchen table deals. I close on a kitchen table. Now lately, just because the world has gone awry, and I won't bring up my opinions about that, but I've been using my attorney's office. He'll let me use his office, or you can rent an attorney's office, like their conference space, and you have your tenants, or your sellers and your tenants come into the legal office, and you just do your closing on their table, so it looks official.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why you do that is because if I'm a big guy, I mean, no doubt about that, right? I go into somebody's house, they could easily say, well, I was afraid of him. He's a big guy. And I was afraid if I didn't sign the documents, it would be a bad thing. He was kind of like the undertow, the insinuation that he's bullying me. I've never had that happen, but it could happen. So I signed the documents because I was afraid of him, right?
Yeah.
So it's an argument that could happen in a court, where if they get in their car and they come to the attorney's office and they get all the way in there and they sign the documents, now it just, their actions prove to the court that it was of their own volition to sign the documents. Okay.
And you have they're notaries too, aren't they?
Yeah.
Or they have one in the office, so you get so that feels like very legal when somebody comes in the office and notarizes it right there, just that action, right?
So Brian says breaking down the hierarchy makes sense. I hear you want the deed, but I know now I know why. He understands why. So that's good, Brian. Why? That's one of the reasons why we're having this conversation, because I had a coaching client that was confused about this, and it gave me the idea to do this show. Okay.
Well, you always say you can't put money into a property unless you own it. And if you're renting an apartment, you're not going to go fixing things and interior decorating. You might paint it, but if you don't own something, why would you put money in it? Because you're not going to have it, and that money goes someplace.
Peter, I got to tell you, the other day I was reading a book about written by a guy named Bill Hawthorne, and he said in there that you should not put money into real estate. That real estate is designed to take money out. I thought that was a good concept. I really did. You should read that book. Oh my God! My sarcasm worked with Peter. He didn't know what to say. Oh my God! I'm turning red. I'm blushing. I finally feel like I got an accomplishment here. Actually, the truth of the matter is I am being sarcastic, and I am using Bill's humor, which is very dry English, by the way, and doesn't go very far. And my wife tells me that all the time. All right. So the only time you put money into a deal is when you protect it with a deed. Now, a lot of gurus, the Ron LeGrands and
Kiyosaki.
Some of the others, I can't think of them right now.
Than Merrill.
Yeah.
Than?
These guys, totally lost my train of thought here.
You're talking about not putting money in the deed?
Yeah, they'll talk about
without a deed.
All these techniques that you can get, skate around this, but just realize that when you're doing these deals, you're going to stumble across these deals. If you're doing what I'm telling you, you get out there and talk to people, you're going to stumble across these deals. And you just put them in this hierarchy. Like this method that we're talking about. And then how much time to put in the deal. So like if you're going to get the deed, you would put a lot of time in. Like for example, I was just telling you about a deal that I'm doing right now that I've been working on, right? So, yep. I mean, I tell these stories, and I know that, if you know me, I'm not a liar, right? I just say it the way it is because, quite frankly, I don't give a shit, right? But if you don't know me, you may think I'm just bullshitting you. So whatever. But I got a deal right now. The guy's selling me the house, right? He picked a price which is about $20,000 more than I would normally pay if I pay cash. It's a renovated house. But he told me that he'll give me the house for the number. He gave me the number. No interest. No payments. $100,000 and something. and he'll give me the renovation money, which is, anywhere from $20,000 to $30,000. I haven't figured it out yet. He'll give me the renovation money and charge me because I do business with him, and he'll charge me 9% just on that money. And he's like, when can we have a closing? He wants to have a closing like in the next couple of days. Gave me the keys already. I already had the keys. I'm already going out there to meet contractors, right? So where's the hierarchy there? So at first, when I was doing this deal with him, I was thinking, well, because I know him, it's like, well, I'll just go do the work. I'm going to be like the project manager. But then as we progressed into the conversation, he's like, oh, no, I want to have a closing. I want the deed out of my name. He's having some family issues with the house, so he wants the deed out of his name so he can say to the people, I sold it to Bill.
Yeah, and he's done with it. He doesn't want to be involved anymore.
And what does he go for? So exactly, listen to what I'm telling you. I'm so on a rant today. Listen to what I'm telling you. He's going from being a real estate owner or a real estate investor, because that's what he is right now, to being a money investor. He's switching careers.
Right. Instead of owning the real estate to make money, he has money in the deal, and then you do the work.
This house has been vacant for 2 years.
I've been watching you on this one. And like, what the hell's going on with that house? When's he going to give it to you? Oh, it's just weird.
So here's what happened. There's some family stuff that was involved, but listen to this. Do you know what a blight order is?
Yeah, there's something wrong with the property, and the city gives you a citation. The lawn's not mowed or something.
So let's make it simple. It's an eyesore. The property's an eyesore because nobody's taking care of it. It's overgrown. It's not that it's a bad house. It's just that it's abandoned. So the city gave him a blight order. Guess what? He's on the planning. He's on the planning and zoning in that city.
Get out of here.
In that city, he's on the planning and zoning. Has been for 30 years. He's involved in this house with his son, and his son's been dragging his feet, and it was like the camel that broke the straw that broke the camel's back.
Jeez.
You can't push it that far. Too many empty promises with the kid, I guess, or whatever. I don't know. I'm not in the middle of the two of them, and it's like done because he knows he made one phone call. The same day I picked up the keys, the next day I'm in action, and he knows that. Okay.
Yeah.
Point is, how much money did I need?
Zippity doo dah.
He's going to give me $35,000 if I want. All I have to do is say, "Hey, I need $35,000," whether I need the money or not. I just say I need $35,000. He'll write a check. He even told me. I said, "All right, so here's what we'll do: is we'll close on the house on the dollar amount for the house." And then once I figure out how much money it is, we'll come back and we'll put a second note on for the whatever. If I take 10 grand or 20 grand or 30 grand, he looked at me. He says, "No, we don't need to do that. Just close on the house and get the deed out of my name. And whenever you need the money, I'll just write you a check." Yeah. He doesn't want to go to the attorney again to do another document to protect himself.
Oh, right.
Why? Because we've passed millions of dollars between us over 35 years of a relationship.
Yeah, and for him, the more he gives you, the better, because he's getting his percentage. What does he care? Whether you need all of it for the renovation, half, the other half goes in your pocket, he's done. You'll pay him, and you'll pay him off.
Good. So Desiree's asking about my books. She says she can't find them on Amazon. Desiree, I find that you have to type in William Hawthorne on Amazon. If for some reason you can't find that, because you got to realize I don't print my books to be an author. I print my books to give them to my coaching clients and my people that are in my world. So I don't spend a lot of time ranking those books and stuff. If you can't find them, just send me a support ticket and I'll send you some links, and you can have at it. Which, by the way, Peter, completely oh my God, I don't even know how much longer we've been on here. I'm totally this is Bill's session today. I'm this close. I am this close, which is very close to having my book ready that people can buy public label rights for. which means they can buy the book and put their name on it as the author and give to their sellers. It's a book, and I renamed the book. Let me go see. I got to go look at it. I renamed the book. You ready for the name?
Yeah, what'd you come up with?
Let me get it here. The name of the book is Sold.
Sold.
And then the subcap title is Everything You Don't Know About Selling Real Estate Without Agents and Fees Done Easily.
Ah.
So, my intention with this book is that right now we send offers, because if you use my offer calculator, right, the Excel offer calculator, you put in 5 or 6 comps and it gives you 3 offers. You take that offer and put it onto my letter of intent, which is 8 pages because it answers all frequently asked questions and it has all the benefits to the seller. It does a lot of selling in there, so you don't have to do it. So it's like me giving the offer. You take those 3 offers, you transpose them onto the offer, onto the letter of intent, and you email it, and then I prefer you mail it later. This book is designed so when you email it, you can send them an electronic version of this book so they can read the book and see what you're all about. So it's my interpretation or my version of a credibility pack. So I'm like developing this credibility pack where somebody can develop credibility with their seller, put their name on the book so it looks like they wrote the book, so it looks like they're an author of a book, and it gives them higher status. Now, I haven't decided how much I'm going to sell all this for, but for sure my coaching clients are going to get it right away.
Yeah,
so.
That's awesome.
Desiree, you're a sweetheart. Desiree says, well, I'm in your world. I'm in your world, Bill. Yeah, I'll put it here. I got to give her my wife's phone number and get her to convince my wife to tell me that. All right.
Desiree, you're a brave woman.
All right, so let's end off today, Peter, with the gold mines of this podcast, which I put at the end of the show, which is probably a stupid thing I should have probably done in the beginning, but I didn't, and here we are. Okay? I want to pay off in abundance.
Thanks for listening, folks. Here's Bill.
So, let me see where I start here. I got to get my writing down. This document's so tight that I have full confidence that it too will protect your money just like the deed would. So, what I'm talking about is if you need to put some money in, which, by the way, I went on a rant about the gurus before. A lot of gurus tell you that no money down in real estate is $5,000 or less. So I don't believe in that. No money down to me is no money down. I mean, less than $1,000 to me is no money down. Okay, but if you do want to put $2, $3, $4 in because you got it laying around or on a credit card or in your credit line or something like that, it's okay to do that amount of money with a land contract without the deed.
Yeah, and you're talking about like cleaning up a property if you want to sell it or lease it to somebody or do something with it just to get it a little bit more cleaned up and prettied up for somebody for an end user.
Like a prehab,
right?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. If it's gross, you got to do something. We've seen some gross ones.
So let's just to really clarify this. To really clarify this, so you understand this document in full. Let me give you some common reasons why I would use this. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
So fasten your seatbelt because you're going to be like, really? We could have done the whole show just on these. I could have taken up the whole time just talking about these. Okay? Number 1, seller wants to do a subject to deal, but is uncomfortable with passing the deed. He doesn't want to put the deed in your name and keep the loan in his name. I use a land contract to cool the seller's jets, and I still keep the deal. That's the number 1 objection. Why would a seller put a deed in your name and keep the loan in their name? So if you say to the seller, are you willing to sell for what you owe on it? And he says yes. And you go into the subject to pitch, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to put the deed in my name. The loan's going to stay in your name, which is the safest way in the world to do it, because we did that on episode 169 on all the subject to way, right? Because you're now on the deed and you own the property, you can't skate. It's the safest way for a seller to sell you a property, other than like owner financing.
Right. But they feel uncomfortable sometimes and they say they won't do that.
Well, the difference between a
That's your
subject to
point.
deal and an owner financing is the owner financing deal, it's the seller's money. Subject to, it's the bank's money. So they have, you get somebody that has no equity in their property or very little bit of equity in their property, or worse than that, they have realtor equity.
Realtor equity? What do you mean?
The 12 or 15% that they would need to go sell with a realtor, that's how much equity they got into the property.
Yeah. Oh, that's
So
all
like
they have.
you got somebody that's selling a $100,000 house, right? And they go sell it with a realtor, they're going to spend 12 to 15%. Well, that's 25 to 30 grand, right? So if they owe 175 and they think they're going to sell for 200, they have realtor equity. They're not getting that money. They don't even know it.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
So there you go.
They get the 175, they're even. So why not sell it subject to? You're not getting anything anyways. Just sell it.
Exactly. It's not like they're going to get a big fat check. So give them $5,000 and let them walk.
Yeah. And if they don't want to pass the deed, you do the land contract, so they still have the deed. You do all your obligations, and you get the property later. He gets paid, you get the deed, everything's fine.
It cools.
What else would you?
It cools the jets of the seller. And by the way, if they're going to go, which by the way, I did this for a very long time. I do it different now, but for a very long time, if they said they wanted to get legal counsel, I would just tell them, okay, no problem. I'll draft up the documents. I wouldn't even explain it. See, I don't go into detail about what subject to is and how it works until I know for sure what they're going to do. One of the pre-qualifying questions is, are you going to get legal counsel? Which is a tricky question to ask, and I ask it many different ways. So I asked them, how do you envision the closing is going to go? Are we going to meet at your attorney's or mine? I hadn't thought about that. Well, would you be interested in not using an attorney? We could just do the closing here. Oh, how does that work? So it's stuff like that makes a difference. So if they're going to use legal counsel, I would just take the subject to and I would turn it into a land contract, and I would talk about the land contract and not talk about subject to. But if it's going to be subject to and we're going to do a tabletop closing, then I'm going to talk to them about how I'm going to get a notary public to come that meet me there, and they have 6 documents. It'll take about 20 or 30 minutes. I'll explain all of them. They're real easy to understand.
Yeah.
Right? Number 2. There's a problem with the title, and you think it can be fixed.
Oh, like the Meriden house that we did?
That's exactly what I'm going to talk about. But it'll take time, and you're not sure that your seller has the time or will wait. So you close with this agreement until you can get the title fixed, and then close later. So what Peter's talking about is we just had a property that we just sold, but when I bought the house, okay, the guy had bought the house, and it's a $200,000 house. He was asking $80,000. We paid nowhere near that. The reason why is because he gave his kid the $80,000, and the kid was supposed to renovate it, but the kid had a drug problem. He's telling me that the kid didn't have a drug problem. He had some sort of a pedophile problem or something like that. He was taking pictures of girls in showers and shit like that. He was a real freak. And he ended up in jail. So now the old man wants the property gone because the city's giving him a hard time, with blight orders and shit like that. And he's over there, and this guy's 80 years old. He just wants to go on vacation with his new young girlfriend, and there you go. Right? So
I missed that last part. I met him, really?
So anyways,
Okay,
he went to Germany. So anyways, the point that I'm making here is that I do a title search. We do a deal with him. We do a title search. And we find out that he bought it from a bank, and the foreclosure paperwork was done wrong. And
when he bought it.
So what happened was prior to him buying it, I don't want to get into this because it'll take too much time telling the story. When he bought it, so there's like a management company that's handling the loans for a bank. It was, I think, Citizens Bank. So it's what they call servicing the loans, right? So this company is servicing the loans. So they're trying to collect payments. When it goes to foreclosure, because somebody's not paying, the bank has to put the management company's name on the deed so they can do the foreclosure and not bother the bank with it. So they're like going back and forth with who owns the house. When they were doing that paperwork, they did it wrong and left names off of the documents. And my attorney picked up on it.
And when he bought it, that was all happening, but those attorneys missed
That's right.
it.
And when he did the closing,
Right,
they missed it because he used the bank's attorney, did not get his own legal counsel, didn't do a title search, and didn't pay title insurance. And in the end, I think, so we went back and said, okay, so here are the choices. So our attorney says that, here's the deal, Bill. I don't know if I could fix this. We may have to, what was the language? Oh my goodness, I forgot the language.
Was that the part of quit claiming it somehow?
No, it's called a quiet title action.
Right.
What that means is you go through the court system, and whoever's trying to attach or get money from the property, once the judge says this is my hearing or this is what I say, everybody has to go quiet. They can't go after it anymore.
All right. So if there's any question, if there's any liens on the property, any discrepancies because the title search wasn't done, there was no insurance. Too bad. He goes, that's it. The house got to get sold.
It's all presented in court,
yeah.
And you have a regular, whatever, right? And then the judge says, okay, I'm posing this judgment, and if you're in there, and you get paid, then good for you. If you're not, then you have to quiet up and just walk away. You got to man up and walk away.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So that could take. Hey, Reg. So that could take years, and it could take $10,000, $15,000, because we're not going against my owner. We're going against the foreclosing bank and those attorneys. So this isn't going to be a nuisance for them. They could just keep kicking the can down the road until hoping that I go away. They're going to try to scare me with paying legal fees and hope I can't buy. So I go.
But do they have anything to gain or lose? Why don't they just let it go?
Well, you don't know this, but what they have to gain is they don't want to spend time on a file they're not getting paid for. Okay, so I know all this, and I know exactly how to fix it. I tell my attorney, now I because of what we were paying, because we paid pennies on the dollar, I told my attorney just close on the property, and I'll deal with the problem. And then we closed, and 3 days later, I called him up and said, do this, do that, do this. He's like, are you kidding me? I'm like, no, please do that. He's like, okay, that's a great idea. I don't know if it's going to work, though. I'm like, well, I'm going to pay you your hours. Just go do it. And what was 10 days later, we had a title. Right? Yep. I don't remember 100% what I did, but I did that. My point is I could have closed with this guy if the dollar amount was, if I was worried about it, I could have closed with him on a land contract while I fixed the title. And then once I fix the title, done the actual closing, and give him his money. Yeah. Okay, that's my point. It's a long story, but that's what my point is, okay? Number 3, when I'm selling and the buyer has a large down payment, I use a land contract because most often, if they have a large down payment, somebody's either advising them strongly, controlling the money, or telling them they need to get like a regular loan. So I would use a land contract. So I'll give you an example. I had a house one time in Meriden. I think I told the story. A girl was a young girl. She was 20 years old. She had a inheritance that said at 21 she can get the money, right? So she put down $40,000 on a $180,000 house. Whoever was running the trust was like, well, I'm not just giving you that for a deposit on a lease option.
Right.
So I brought
'Cause she wouldn't have the deed, or she wouldn't have enough
Right.
control.
So knowing the hierarchy, I just went up one step and said, "Oh, I'll just give you this document." I drafted the document. She presented to the trust management company, and they're like, "Yeah, this is totally fine." We closed on the property. She turned 21. I don't know, 13 months later, and the trust gave us the rest of the money. Okay, so that's where it works. I'm gonna give you the punchline. I'm about 3 or 4 minutes away from giving you the punchline, because when you hear what I have to end this podcast off, you're gonna be like, "What? I never heard of that." Okay, I'm getting close. Number 4, I like to use this for long-term deals, like 10, 15, 20-year deals, right? Instead of using the option agreement. Now, I've never said this before. I've never said this before because I don't want to. I knew I would have to explain the land contract, so I didn't want to bring it up and then have to, go off on a tangent. Well, we've just spent an hour and a half explaining the land contract, so I can say it now. On my longer deals, when they're, 10, anything over 5 years usually, or 7 years, my 10, 15, 20-year deals, I'd rather use a land contract because it's got more meat and bones to it than just an option agreement. The land contract, I have more legal security and a court. It's not just a willy-nilly, like someday I might, well, I'm not really sure. I got rights, but I don't know if I want to execute them type of contract. This is the difference. Like I said earlier in the podcast, an option is I'm not sure, I might, maybe, well, okay. It leaves the seller in some sort of a maybe or a funk. With the land contract, we're actually closing and we're actually saying, this is my house. This is how we're dealing with the money. This is how we're going to do it. Here's a legal agreement. Done. There isn't a maybe like I'm not going to buy it. Okay, so I use the land contracts for longer deals. Okay?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Number 5, when the seller's worried about damage, because we hear this a lot, this is the number one objection when we do rent-own or slot deals or anything like that, and you know this because you're on the phone with people. The number one objection is what about damage, or what happens if they don't pay? Right? And often we tell them, well, we're going to get a security deposit, and that's going to be large enough. They're actually a vested buyer because, they're gonna move in the house, live in the house, and they're not going to damage the house they plan on buying. Plus, we get a security deposit, and it's big enough. It's usually enough money that if they do damage, we could fix the house if we have to give it back to you, or if they miss payments, we have a chunk of dough in reserves, and we could pay it because everything is there. Okay?
Yep.
If for some reason that doesn't satisfy your seller, what I do is I write, and I don't suggest everybody do this, I write the land contract. So earlier I said there's a land contract for when I buy, and there's a land contract for when I sell. There's differences. Like when I buy, I want to have the ability to sublease. Right?
Yep.
Where I sell, I don't want to have that. I don't want them to have the ability. So there's like differences like that in the contract. What I'll do is I'll actually take that buyer's land contract and I'll use it against me and give it to the seller. So I'll put things in there like, if I don't pay by the 25th of the month, I'll relinquish you the keys and give you back the contract. No eviction, no foreclosure, nothing. All you have to do is give me in writing that I'm 25 days past due or 60 days past due. There is no court. There is no eviction. If I don't give you the keys back, you can sue my portfolio and make a lot of money. Right? So I'm really strict on myself. With the seller, they show that to their attorney, and the attorney pretty much says to him, "This guy's nuts that he would do that." And that's what I use it for. So does that make sense?
Yeah, well, you have to give somebody enough benefits to do something that's a long-term deal where they're not getting the money for a while, like paying them more or making promises like that to make them feel comfortable. One thing I learned from you is You want something, you have to give something. You give something, you can ask for something. So if somebody wants more protection, you give it to them. Then maybe they give you more. You give them more money. But you always like balance things out. Like that's why you're a deal maker, even in your house.
Right.
Like, hey, I'll cook the meal tonight. Will you clean
Exactly.
the kitchen? Just give and
So
take.
the point that I would make here is not a bold offer, because my true intention is to be able to pay to keep the agreements. And even if I can't, one of the things that I know in my head, which I don't think I've been fully understood on with my followers, is if for some reason I get stuck and can't make the payment, like suppose I got somebody that's been like I'm selling to someone and they go 2 months and can't pay, and I don't have the dough. You think I can't assign that contract to another investor that would come in and pick up those 2 payments and keep my agreement? I don't know why people get so nervous. You're worried about you can't pay. Just if that happens, just go assign it to somebody else. Let them pay you Let them pay $3,000 to the seller if the payments are $1,500 a month, and you walk away. You say, give me $5,000. You take $2,000 in cash and pay off the $3,000, and you're done. And you could do that like once you find your seller. I'm sorry. Once you find your investor, it's like you could do it over the weekend. I would gladly do that with somebody that came to me with a deal like that. Right?
Yeah.
All right. So how am I doing so far? Okay?
Yeah. No, we've never talked about this. I've heard you mention it briefly, but I've never been involved in one, whether you have or not. So it was good to understand the details. The hierarchy was good. I've seen some things of hierarchy, but that was much clearer in terms of the control. Right. And being able to bump up a little, bump down a little bit to make a deal with somebody. If they don't like this, go up. If you don't like it, you go down. I mean, it's tools to use. You need the big screwdriver, the little screwdriver. Right. So you just have so many. I can't use the word option because we'll confuse ourselves. So many possibilities that you can think through things and just find something that's amenable to you, the other person, so we can move forward with deals, instead of something not working, just walking away and wasting a whole deal.
Right.
Why do that?
All right, so
it's called making the most of it, right?
Exactly. So let me give you the punchline.
Okay.
Time for the orgasm, Peter. Here we
down.
go. Lastly, and the best, when a buyer has a lease for 2 years and can't qualify for a mortgage, you tell them that you will do owner financing for 5 years. So you take them from a lease option to a mortgage. So you tell them, if you can't qualify in 2 years, don't worry, I'll owner finance you for 5 years. So when they go into the lease option, you tell them this, or you don't tell them this, however you want to run your business, depending on your person, right? And I'm going to tell you when to do this. There's a specific time you do this that you want to do this all the time. This should be an exit strategy of yours. So you tell them that you'll give them a lease for 2 years with an option. If they can't execute on the option, you'll do owner financing with them for 5 years. You take them out of the option agreement and put them into the land contract. Now watch this. You do that with deposit money. So I take from them 3 to 5% on a lease option.
Yeah, in the very beginning, that's the normal procedure.
And I tell them, if you want to do owner financing, you need to have 10 to 12% down.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So for them to go on a land contract and you make up the number, you got to have 10 to 15%. I wouldn't go much higher than that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you get that?
Yeah, and that just adds to whatever they put down. They have to come up to that new level, adding more
So
to
at
it.
the end of the 2 years, so let's say Think about the numbers. Let's say we got a $200,000 house. A 3% down payment is $6,000.
Yep.
5% is $10,000. 10% is $20,000.
Right.
12% is $24,000. So if they gave you $6,000 down on a 3% down payment, and they have to go into a land contract, they got to come up with another $17,000. So now you go a lease option for 2 years. You had your money now, which was the $6,000. You make your monthly cash flow, we'll say $300-400 a month or more. And now it's time for them to cash you out, and they say, "Oh, I'm not qualified. You need to have." So I make the most amount of money when they default. Right? They're defaulting right now. So I could say, "Get out of the house. I'm going to go get another $6,000." Or I can say to them, because you're going to have this conversation much before their 2 years is up, you can say to them, I could do owner financing if you want for 5 years so you can go fix your problem, but you're going to need another $12,000 down or $17,000 down.
And that's not added to the purchase price. That's just more deposits, same purchase price. And but you're still collecting cash flow, so you're making more money and still getting that amount in the end anyways, so you get more money in the deal.
Yep.
Some now, the continued cash flow, and then at the end, the figure. And they have to get the credit straightened out, but they got 5 years now.
Okay.
And if you can't straighten out your credit in 5 years, you deserve it.
Yep. All non-refundable.
Yeah.
So I usually do these on my subject to properties where I have no timeline to close. See, I used to make deals with people when I did subject to it. I tell them, I'll have you buy it out in 5 years. I don't do that anymore. I just take over subject to, and I say, well, when I get my buyer qualified, I get him qualified. So could I do this on a subject to deal? Again, why Bill likes subject to deals so much? Because there's an open end at the other side, and I don't have a time where I need to close. Knowing that I have this strategy in my back pocket that I'm going to lease for 2 years, and then give them 5 years, I'm going to collect $20,000 in down payment money and keep my cash flow going for at least 7 years.
Yeah. Those numbers add up.
And I'm going to get principal reduction. I'm probably not going to give it to them. If they ask for it in the land contract when I sell, I might give it to them, or I might not. Depends. It's what we agree upon that makes a difference.
Right.
And that...
But in a land contract, you get the principal reduction. That's just part of that scenario.
You don't have to.
I mean, when you buy it?
You buy it, yeah. But when you sell it, you sell it,
yeah.
you don't have to.
No.
Oh, I see what you're saying, yeah. So I'm going to continue to get... It's like doing an owner finance with principal-only payments. You're getting the principal reduction, the buyer's not, which is how you make your money. This is the same exact scenario, except it's done on a regular deal.
Yep.
And it's done in a land contract.
There's so many tools.
Yeah. So you could probably Google these land contracts, and you can get some sort of a template, which is like a boilerplate. I'm only going to cover this because I know people will send me support tickets. You can get my land contracts, and that's right. Reg says that it helps. It helps. Let me put it up here. Reg says that it helps. It helps sell someone who is on the fence about doing a deal, and that is 100% correct. It's what I call the big guns, Reg. You know, this is the part of negotiating I don't talk about because I've never thought of, I don't know why, doing a 90-minute episode on what land contracts are, because I can't talk about land contracts unless you understand how they work, right? Reg wants to know, how many smokes have you had in celebration lately? I'm not sure. In other words, he wants to know. How many deals I'm doing.
Reg, he doesn't need a reason to smoke. He just smokes.
Yesterday I smoked 3 cigars. Okay, Reg, and I can tell you that that's what I smoked in cigars is what most people spend in and it's half their grocery bill or a full tank of gas or whatever. So, but I am working on a couple deals, Reg, if that's what you're asking. So I haven't, the last couple months I haven't had any closings because of COVID stuff, but it's pent up, and now I'm back in Connecticut and I'm working again, so all of a sudden deals are coming in. Anyways, the paperwork. So you can go onto my house, onto my website, flippinghousesforrookies.com, go into courses section, and there's a platform there. It's not cheap, that has all my real estate documents. And that is a bonus with the land contract in there. It's a PDF document, so you're not going to be able to download a Word document and just manipulate it. So you're going to have to convert it from PDF into Word or retype it. A lot of times what people will do, my coaching clients, is they'll download the PDF document and they'll cut and paste sections with my guidance. They'll cut and paste sections out of the land contract and put them in lease options. So they make like a hybrid between them. And all of that happens in our coaching group, which is what I do for the weekly coaching. And that's why we do that. So just to end off, because we're way too late today, just to end off, the new platform that I've been working on since September of 2020, which is where we are right now. I've stopped creating all this content. I've stopped because I can't trust people anymore, Peter, because they try to go learn on their own and they have too many mistakes and problems and I don't know about them, and then they ride away in the sunset and I don't even know why.
Yeah.
So basically the way it works now is I have a $97 a month coaching group that's just for deal hunting. It's just to show you how to get deals. Okay, and there's a lot of support. And I give away, like I said earlier, $1,400 worth of deal hunting tools, as well as my calculator, my offer calculator, and I have a special bonus in there for the offer, how to give away, how to make offers. Okay. Mm-hmm. That steers you very overtly into my weekly coaching group, which is $500 a month, and that coaching is going to help you do deal structuring and what to say to your sellers. Okay, so it's like a letter, and then soon to come, probably next month, the next level of coaching is going to be for around $800 a month, and we're still talking about that. You actually become a partner of mine. I actually put you into my CRM. We go find you leads. You tell us what section of the country you're in. We go find you leads. We scrape Zillow and Craigslist and we find leads. We do all the texting. We do all the deal hunting. We do all the follow-up. We do everything. When a person's interested, they actually respond in our CRM. And my VA that I'm training right now, which is what I'm waiting to do because everything else is in place, my VA will actually call that seller and pre-qualify them. My VA will make the 3 offers that we talk about using the offer calculator. Once the offer gets sent out, the VA will schedule in 7 days. So today is Thursday. So if he made an offer today, and next Thursday they would put on your calendar that you have to call the seller and talk to them about the 3 offers we sent them. What the coaching's for, so you're paying $800 a month, but we're doing all the marketing, we're finding the leads, we're paying the VA, and you actually, all you do is call sellers that receive the offer and say, what'd you think of my offers? Then you have the coaching behind you, the weekly coaching behind you, where you get on the coaching calls and you say, what do I say? How do I do it? And I coach you on what to say to these sellers. Then when it's time to do the paperwork, I do the paperwork or help you do the paperwork. We close the deal. Your boots on the ground. I help you sell the property. And when we sell it, we split commissions. And I don't know how it gets much better than that.
No, that's a great deal.
It's going to be a lot of work.
You know, it's not just doing it. Like you're kind of like extending what I've been doing with you. You know, I'm here on the podcast. I'm with you. That's how I learned to do this. So not only are I helping do a deal, they're learning how to do the deals. That's important.
Well, I don't trust my listeners anymore because when they do it themselves, they get things wrong. They get misunderstandings. They don't even know they have misunderstandings. They don't have study tech. They don't have the ability to do things. And so that's why I've changed my complete platform to I got to hold your hand. You're going to go through the steps. You're going to pay the $97 a month until you find a deal. You're going to walk into the now you got a deal. You got money to pay me for the coaching because you got a deal happening. You get into the weekly coaching and you do a few deals. I help you with because by the way the weekly coaching now includes the deal hunting coaching. So you get both. So when you're a weekly client, and it's $500 a month, you get both. You get the deal hunting coaching, and you get the weekly coaching. So there's plenty of help there. Plenty of help there. And then once you get going a little bit, you get some more, you get used to it. Then you're going to want to go into the automated system where we actually find you deals and we close them and when we partner. Okay. So it's taken me a little while, Peter.
It's a great
because
idea.
I announced last Christmas that this year I was going to start taking some of my coaching clients on as partners, and it's taken me 8 months to figure it out. Honestly, it was the software. It took me a year to find the software. So, all right, let me just get this here. So Nathan says, this is great information. I need to become savvy to find investors or money sources. I find deals all the time, but no money relationships. So Nathan, I don't know where you've been, but you better go listen to my other podcast because you don't need to go find money. If you're doing some of the stuff we're talking about, you're either finding the wrong deals, because if you need money, you're buying ugly houses and you shouldn't have to do that. If you go listen to some of the other podcasts, you'll realize that there's 4 places to get money. 1 is the bank, 1 is a private lender. 1 is a bank, 2 is a hard money lender, 3 is a private lender, and 4 is a buyer. Most of my stuff is you get the money from the buyer, and you don't need to go find sources of money. So I think you have a misunderstanding there, and you should go check it out. You could, when you start getting deep discounts, and deep discounts are 30 and 40% or more, you could do that by getting private lenders. But there's just go listen to some podcasts, and it will help you. Okay, buddy? Or send me.
Hey, don't forget Startup Boot Camp to get the whole story in a row.
And you get that for free. So, all right, Pete, I'm going to duck out of here. We're 20 minutes past due. We went really long today. I had no idea this podcast was going to be this way. Please make sure you subscribe. Oh, yeah, by the way, if you scroll down in the description, I should have done this at the beginning. I forgot. I always forget. If you scroll down in the description of whatever you're listening on your phone or on your iPad or something like that, or Android or wherever you are, if you scroll down in the description, there's a link there that sends you to my free stuff page. There's 25 free things that you can get. Almost 25, I think. There's videos, there's documents, there's scripts, there's all kinds of stuff. There's forms there, all kinds of stuff. So just scroll down in your description and click on that link, and it'll bring you right to that page, right? Good. So Reg, if you have any more questions, he's on Facebook. If you got any more questions, send them to me on support. He's saying that he's noticed some houses that I've sent notices out back in January still available. Reg, go online, and if those things are vacant, go be tenacious, man. Go get them. Go talk to those people, because that's 8 months. That's a long time. Okay. All right, so make sure you check in the description, click on the link, you subscribe, and you give us a review. All right, Pete? So thanks for being with me. 218 shows. You're very dedicated like I am, and I believe the listeners appreciate it. So thank you. All right?
Well, thank you for all you do. We stick together, we'll get something done every day.
All right, guys, over and out. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks for tuning in to the hottest real estate topics on the planet with Bill and Pete. If you want to continue learning how to buy and sell real estate without money or credit, head over to flippinghouses.club for some cutting-edge real estate wealth tools. Or contact us at info@flippinghouses.club.